Alright then guys, what's up? Good evening. This is HungriCroc coming at you guys now, live here with MechWarrior Online tonight, and the new mech that we will be trying out here on trial is the Banshee. Now this is what the Banshee looks like if you guys aren't aware of what it appears to be. I'm pretty sure you guys who have played MechWarrior though are familiar with the Banshee itself and what it has to offer, but we're just going to quickly take a look at its stats. 64.8 kilometers per hour for speed, an armor 432, of course max is 586. Total firepower right now at its disposal is 66 out of 250. And if you're wondering why you see this blinking sign right here, the reason why, if we look at mech details, is this mech has 6 large pulse lasers. Now that is quite a bit of firepower, so to speak, to offer at our disposal, but at the same time it does leave us to question whether or not this mech is really that great in terms of what it has to offer. We'll be examining this mech itself. Again, this is a first playthrough of the mech itself. This will be a first time I will be using this mech ever, actually. So everything that you will be seeing in the video content itself will be relatively new for both you and myself. Unless you guys are very familiar with this mech, then well, then that's a different story. But yeah, again, I'll be going over this mech, hopefully pointing out some advantages, disadvantages, pros and cons of what I realize of this mech itself, and also my thoughts and perceptions overall. And what you guys want to do with that, you can do as you please. But yeah, let's get into this game and let's look for some, hopefully some good matches, alright? Okay then, guys, let's do it.
Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Alright then, guys, here we go in the Banshee itself, and just look at how much large lasers we have at our disposal. Let's just fire one salvo off just to see what it looks like. Alright. Wow, actually, oh my gosh, actually, guys, I'm really surprised at what we've seen already just by firing those 2 shots of our large lasers. Now, again, don't forget, we do have 6 large pulse lasers at our disposal. Now, let's just fire that off at the same time now. Heat levels rising to about close to 42%, as you saw right there. And again, we have a quick recharge to again use our large pulse lasers again in quick succession, actually, which surprised me, to be honest. Now, when I first looked at this mech itself, just on the statistics itself, this really reminded me about the Nova itself. Now, the Nova mech is a medium mech, and it is usually on trial. And if you guys recall, I was actually originally going to do a video on the Nova itself to kind of explain a little bit about the Nova, pros and cons, etc., about that sort of thing. But actually, the Banshee really does remind me a lot about the Nova. Except the fact that the Nova, I believe, does have, don't quote me on this, but I think, if I recall from memory, has 12 medium lasers, and the amount of firepower that offers is just ridiculous. I believe it's like base stats of like 81, I think, for medium lasers, but that's 12 of them. It's an insane amount. But here we have the Banshee. It kind of does remind me about that, but instead we have 6 large pulse lasers, and whoa, we're already seeing some fire already over there from the enemy mech. We're just gonna go over here. Sorry, losing my train of thought just from that little fire of PPC over there in the distance from on our right. But as I was saying, so I'm actually surprised that even when we fire both our large pulse lasers, our heat gauge doesn't rise too bad. Or what I mean too bad, it's not. I thought it would actually be much higher than that of 42%, because if you recall, when we fired both, such as this, it rises about 45-46%. It's about half. And the recharge time in which we can fire our large pulse lasers recharges and recycles very quickly as well, which was also really surprising to me. I was really concerned about this mech to really be a mech that really builds up heat so quickly, in the fact that like the Nova, we would really have to limit our shots to only one large pulse laser at a time itself. Oops, dealt some friendly damage to our Zeus right there. That was perhaps my biggest concern, but the fact is we can actually fire both our large pulse lasers simultaneously. Now that is actually a significant advantage compared to that of, let's say, the Nova. The Nova, for example, again has 12 medium lasers, but it could only fire one arm at a time in order to be the most effective. And even then, one arm, or just firing one of your, I guess your medium lasers, which would be 6, already made the heat signature levels rise to about 50%, if not more, which was really crazy. Actually, it really limited the amount of firepower you could dish out, and also made things so much harder for you as a player in general. But the Banshee itself, it is not a medium mech, it is actually an assault mech, and that also surprised me as well. So when I think of assault mechs, I'm thinking like the Hellbringer, like in front of us right now. I'm thinking about like the Timberwolf, the Direwolf, I believe is what it's called. Yes, the Direwolf. You know, mechs that offer not only dish out huge amounts of damage, but also mechs in general that have a lot of weapons at their disposal. Now the Banshee does not have any other weapons save for these large pulse lasers, and you can see we're doing some damage right there to that catapult.
Well, you can never run out of laser bomb.
Looks like we're hearing some background chatter from one of our teammates. I don't know if that's him talking to his significant other or not. I don't know, guys. I'm just guessing. Just shooting off some catapults, or sorry, shooting off our large lasers at that catapult right there. But yeah, as I was saying, so yes, again, what really surprised me about the fact was this being an assault mech, mostly because, you know, I think a lot of us, myself included, actually believe assault mechs to be mechs that offer substantial amount of firepower options, so to speak. You know, not only just large pulse lasers that we can show off, but also maybe machine guns, SRMs, you know, so to speak, AC5s, whatever, you know. But all we have right now at our disposal, again, is 6 large pulse lasers. Now, that is, again, a significant amount of burst damage that we can really dish out against enemy mechs. However, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I do actually prefer regular ER large lasers versus that of large pulse lasers. Mostly, especially against moving targets. Let's say if I'm moving and I'm trying to hit an enemy target from a distance when I'm moving or when they're moving or at the same time. Sometimes, at least for my skill level right now, it can be kind of tricky to do so, which is why, again, I would prefer regular lasers versus that of pulse lasers. But man, look at the damage we can do right there, guys. I mean, we can really do a significant amount of damage with this, and especially against enemies who are very cored up in the red. Let's say your torso is really lit up, as I like to say, when you take substantial amount of damage. It's very lit up. The enemy is very likely to die. Oh, I wish we could help out our enemy, our friend right there, but unfortunately our angle does not allow us that. Just light him up right there, and let's just back away. We're kind of exposing ourselves right now. Gonna fire a shot at that. Looks like that's a battle master. So yeah, this pulse laser again, I don't really know the exact spectrum of data in terms of damage it can do versus that, but it kind of, honestly, this is again first perception thoughts, does remind me a little bit of machine guns. Now machine guns, while they do significantly less damage than that of our ER or any ER large laser or even our large pulse lasers, for example, they do significant or really just a lot of, they have a high chance of doing critical damage against armor points or just against mechs who are really cored up and lit up. And I can see this mech actually doing the same thing, a really good finisher overall against mechs who are just really in the red zone, so to speak.
Target acquired.
Now we're going to look for some targets right here. Try to play careful right now. Our torso is pretty lit up. That is a concern that we have to watch out for. But again, in terms of advantages that this mech has to offer, great amount of burst damage. It's quite big actually, and also somewhat surprising. Let's help this guy out right here. Do some damage. Another thing that probably I like to point out about this mech is it doesn't overheat as quickly as I thought it would. Unlike the Nova, which has a tendency to overheat really quickly, we still have to watch our shots, of course. But oh my gosh, wow. Look at that damage we just did right there.
New target acquired.
Sorry guys, sorry about that. I lost my train of thought to that. But yeah, what was I saying? I was saying, okay, again, trying to find this target. Gotta be careful though. Show him our side that's a little bit less vulnerable. But you know, actually you can fire off a lot more shots than I suspected with this mech, which is actually really great, guys. It's a huge advantage in a long spectrum of things.
Target destroyed.
All right, that's another mech down for us. So unlike, again, if you guys haven't noticed, I am doing comparison to this of the Nova itself, just because it does remind me of the Nova. But in comparison to the Nova itself, you really can fire more shots with this mech than that of the Nova. I mean, it's really just fantastic. I mean, we have large pulse lasers, huge amounts of burst damage, and a range in which we can go definitely lower than that of the ER large lasers. As you can tell in the bottom right, when we look at our large pulse lasers, we have a maximum range of 402. But that's not bad, though. Oops, I did some friendly damage. Trying to finish off this Raven right here, guys.
Target acquired. Target destroyed.
Yep, that's it. Wow, okay, that was a relatively short game. I didn't get to explain everything, but in the next game, or next upcoming game, I will definitely explain to you guys a little bit more about the Banshee stuff. I'm so sorry, guys. I kind of lost my train of thought just all in the heat of times of fighting itself. Let's check our stats really quickly, and would you look at that, guys? We have 3 kills, 2 kill assists, 4 components destroyed, overall damage 279, 100,000 C-bills. That's actually pretty good right there. I'm very satisfied with that myself, but let's go into another game, guys, and I'll definitely try to stay more focused on explaining the Banshee itself.
Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Alright then. Whoa, actually, oh wait, that mech actually has on his arms one of the words, "Look out below." That's pretty cool, actually. I just noticed that. I don't know if you guys caught that on the really quickly. It was very briefly that I caught that, but yes, again, explaining about the Banshee itself, pros and cons, first thoughts and perceptions about this mech overall, as again, this is first time I am ever playing this mech. Also, I do want to let you guys know, some of you guys have begin to question whether or not my word is, I guess, worthy of listening, whether there's some integrity involved with that. Again, I do want to point out that I may not be the most highly skilled player in terms of MechWarrior Online. I am still learning quite a bit, actually. I am getting there, though, and I'm certainly not like Sidestrafe, who also posts videos of MechWarrior Online, even though we haven't seen him post a video about this game recently. I do wish he would, honestly. I really miss his content, to be honest. But if you guys haven't seen him, I'm sure all of you guys who play MechWarrior Online know this YouTuber. But if you don't know about him and you're relatively new, please do check out his channel. I really do encourage it. Check out his older videos. But yeah, so again, these are my first thoughts and perceptions about mechs. If you don't want to take my word for it, or don't think I hold any credit or value in terms of explaining a mech, that's absolutely fine. You know, I'm just here to present my thoughts and views about the mech overall itself, and hopefully maybe provide something to you guys that can actually prove fruitful, and maybe overall just hope this game is entertaining to you guys as well. That's my whole purpose of this video, and overall just when I play MechWarrior Online and post the videos out. But okay, so continuing, focusing on the Banshee itself. So we already noticed some great things about the Banshee. The amount of damage you can expect to dish out is relatively high. Also, the nice thing to note about it is, actually, in terms of cooldown, it's relatively pretty good. And again, this is a trial mech, but for a base trial mech itself, it's actually pretty good, actually. I'm really surprised by the outcome that I've received from this mech already. You know, it deals great amount of damage for little cooldown time. Also, you don't have too much of concern of worrying about overheating in comparison to that of the Nova. We can actually fire more than just one shot versus that of the Nova, where you can only fire maybe one of your arms, and then you have to wait for about maybe 5 seconds just for you to cool down and maybe fire off another shot without facing the threat of overheating. So that's nice. You know, the Banshee offers a good amount of firepower, and you can actually shoot more than just one salvo of your large lasers. Now, there is one concern about this mech that I do have, and that's where the placement of the weapons are. Now, as you can tell, or if you don't remember, when we looked at the mech from the outside when we were first starting this video, all the large lasers are on the torso itself. It's not on the arms, so that's good, you know, because a lot of mechs, maybe like the Raven with a large laser, will try to knock off a bunch of the components, the weapon systems that happen to be on the arm very frequently. So that's good in itself, but at the same time, it's not good because the torso is the biggest target. Alright, that's a kill assist right there. The torso happens to be the biggest target. So if you're not really aiming, you know, for arms or specific parts of enemy mechs, you're going to aim for the largest thing, which is, again, the torso. And all our large lasers, or our large pulse lasers, happen to be on the torso. That is a disadvantage to us, in the sense that, you know, enemies don't necessarily, if they know where the placement of our large pulse lasers are, they don't necessarily have to aim specifically. You know, they can just aim for the biggest spot which happens again to be our torso. So that is a problem. If our torso gets heavily damaged, there's a very high likelihood that again our large pulse lasers will be knocked out of the fight, and then essentially we're sitting ducks because again we don't have any other weapons besides that of large pulse lasers. That's our biggest advantage and also perhaps our greatest weakness. So we really have to keep track of where the enemy is hitting us, constantly looking at your health and HP to make certain that your torso integrity overall is not highly damaged. Oh, that is an airstrike. We definitely do not want to walk into that. Hopefully we can get out of there without taking any damage, and okay, very good. That's another thing. I don't like airstrikes, but again, airstrikes don't happen to last very long. There's only, I believe, six of those bombs or whatever you call it that are dropped, and then it's over relatively quickly. So that's good. That is a balance. So that's great. But at the same time, I still don't like airstrikes. But so that is a con, I would say, about or disadvantage about the Banshee itself, having all your large pulse lasers specifically on your torso. Another thing that again that is related to having the weapons on the torso is the fact that the Banshee doesn't have any other weapon. Now again, this can be related to balance issues. Is that the last mech? That appears to not be the last mech. So that could again also be based upon balance issues, you know. A lot of people might be thinking, okay, well that's a win. A lot of people might be thinking, you know, hey, the Banshee, it has all these large pulse lasers, but you know, the fact that it doesn't have as many weapons, maybe the value of it goes down significantly. That might be a thought or a threat that some of you guys might think. I don't think you should really think that, honestly. The mech itself does offer a substantial amount of firepower, even if it just has only large pulse lasers. Again, you do have to know when to use them effectively, though. You are with enemy mechs, the more likely that the enemy mechs will actually hit you, and because of that, you are closer in vicinity. They may start targeting your torso, and I'm getting flamed by this adder. What an annoying mech. I absolutely do not like this mech. Again, that's something we gotta really watch out for. We're actually gotta be really careful right now. We're actually really vulnerable and actually by ourselves. And like again, this adder is chasing us down right now, so that's a problem. Oh boy. This is really bad. Okay, yep, this is exactly what you don't want to do, as I was saying. Now, the nice thing is, oh boy, trying to get into some cover right here. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that can show you something that you don't want to do with this mech. Making more hits. It's really crucial to, again, oh, turning away. Oh gosh, this is bad. I don't care if our left arm is again destroyed. We can take hits in the arm itself, mostly because again our arms do not bear our weapons. So long as we can protect our back and torso, which we're struggling to do, and we're dead right there. That's my fault. Again, I exposed the backside a little bit too much. That's unfortunate.
Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Okay then, guys. So before I died, as you last saw, unfortunately, I exposed my back a bit too much. Definitely leaving me much more vulnerable to die very quickly. As you saw, I did die very fast, actually, when I exposed my back to the enemy team itself. One thing I have noticed, if you guys haven't seen already, is this mech is, again, very slow. Very slow startup time and very slow stop time. It takes quite a bit, actually, to maneuver this mech. And the slower the mech is, you have to really be much more aware of your surroundings, your positioning. It's really a lot to take into account. This game really is already takes quite a bit to be aware of what you gotta do. You gotta look at your weapon system, your heat gauge, your armor, your map, your speed, where your enemies are, where your allies are, what weapons to use in certain scenarios and situations. So this game, it puts a lot on the MechWarrior pilot, so to speak, and already speed is something we have to take into account. And because we have slow movement speed, that really is a problem for us, especially. That means you really have to focus on where you're going to be in terms of position. also means that you usually want to stay with the pack. Because you're a slower mech, that usually means, again, you're very susceptible and vulnerable, I would say, to lighter mechs. Light mechs have a tendency to probably get behind you very quickly. So without the support of other mechs with you, again, you're going to be very vulnerable and just very expose yourself to a very high chance of dying very quickly because you're not the team itself. So you need a team to really support your back. Looks like there's a
Target
Raven,
acquired.
I believe. Oh, it's a Locust right there in the distance. More mechs over there. Looks like they might be flanking us from E7 from the looks of it. Light mechs, actually. Just gonna back off, actually, so I don't know where the rest of the team is. Oh, well.
New target
Just as I say that,
acquired.
speak of the devil. Rest of the team is right there. Already took some hits and damage. So we're just gonna, again, back off, join up with the rest of the team itself.
Warning, incoming missile.
Looks like those missiles missed their mark, thankfully.
Warning,
Now,
incoming missile.
I did make a point before that because this mech is slightly, has slightly more armor than that of the Hellbringer itself, which is an assault mech. That really
New
doesn't
target
mean that we
acquired.
can just suddenly tank all the damage we want. We really have to be aware, especially for a mech that is this slow. We really, really have to be aware of where the enemy is and where we are at the moment. Again, I don't usually recommend putting this mech, or just all mechs in general, but especially for this mech, just looking about at our speed, and just because we don't exactly have high amounts of health like that of an Atlas, or maybe even a better example, because we don't have as much health or armor as that of a Direwolf, which is also another assault mech, we really have to take into account the fact that, we can't place ourselves in close quarter situations. It's better if we're behind some sort of cover, or we have an ally who's a meat shield that we can use our large pulse lasers. So we have an Atlas. Again, he can be our tank. Hopefully he can soak up the damage while we do as much damage as we can in return. Now, let's see. Again, slower speed means it's going to be harder to get into positions. It's also going to be a lot harder to get out of a position that's particularly not really useful for us. So when you have a slower speed of movement, you really have to position yourself and place yourselves honestly, especially in a Banshee like this, in a place where you can get out with relative ease and safety without suddenly compensating for that with integral damage to the hull itself. Because with slower movement speed, it's going to be harder for you to get out. It will be harder for you to suddenly move to avoid and take less damage from the enemy mechs in general. So positioning and knowing where you're at is really crucial for the Banshee itself, I notice right now. Again, always stick with your team. You really need the support of other team members, especially in that of a Banshee. If you don't have support from your team members, even though we do have large pulse lasers that do offer quite a bit of burst damage, that does not mean that we are suddenly a god, to be honest. And I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of that right now, as I have fallen prey to die very quickly. Just trying to get a bearing on my position right now and
Target
trying to find
destroyed.
some targets. I'm kind of uneasy right now because I see where the targets are at, but at the same time I don't have a target, so to speak.
Target acquired.
Enemies are just right
New
over there.
target acquired.
I'm trying to look for the support of my other teammates so to back me up, but right now I got a bunch of light mechs all around me, and ooh, did some damage right there. I believe that's a Mad Dog.
Acquired.
Yep, it is a Mad Dog. Just laying out the hurt on him right now. Just gonna back away. So again, really want to be precise in your shots. Ideally, if you're not within a range in which you are relatively close to your enemies and they're just right there, try to do hit and run, of course. And what I mean by that is poke in, poke out, so to speak. Try to place yourself in a position where you have cover available at you. Trying to see where else is available for us. Oops, I almost hit our ally right there, but I missed. Either way, we are pretty much winning at this point. Again, despite the fact that you do have slow movement speed and you do have to place yourself in a position where you are going to be more likely to be safe, because again, movement speed is really crucial to your survivability. We do have a little bit of armor, so we can take some hits. again, our arms don't really matter, so that is an advantage to us, but again, a disadvantage in the sense is that all our weapons are on our torso, and our torso, again, is the biggest target, and everyone's going to be looking at our torso and trying to take it out.
Target destroyed.
So again, probably the advantages of this mech specifically is we have quite a bit of burst damage. We can actually fire more than one shot, unlike that of the Nova. So that gives us that basically means we can fire multiple shots before we have to actually rest in terms of recharging our heat gauge. Disadvantages again is the fact that it is relatively slow, and relatively slow doesn't exactly have a lot of weapons besides that. Also, the fact that if you do get your torso really busted up, you have a higher likely chance of losing all your weapon systems, in which case you are basically a sitting duck and you're dead. Quickly taking a look at our stats, we just got a kill right there from that direwolf. 2 kill assists, 1 component destroyed, only 105 damage. We were being relatively cautious this game, as you can tell.
Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Alright then, guys, here we go in our next to our Timberwolf ally right here. Oh man, I love Timberwolves. They're just a pretty sweet overall assault mech, definitely. Alright then, this is good old skirmish mode right here, so you know what that means, guys. No conquest mode, like unlike skirmish, which I do again prefer skirmish or assault in itself. But regardless, all the modes eventually just end up becoming a slugfest in itself. Now, if you're wondering why I am suddenly turning away from the fight, I am just trying to put some distance, waiting for the other mechs to catch up before I turn around and engage the enemy. Now, it looks like our entire team is basically right here. That is very good. Strength in numbers, if you guys recall, is probably the best option available for any new player or just any even veteran player in general. Again, strength in numbers does give us the ability to hopefully overwhelm our opponents who are singled out, exposed, particularly vulnerable, and separated from the team, and we can easily begin to start sniping out the enemies that are opposing us. However, again, airstrikes or artillery strikes, whatever you call them, you're paid to deal damage is, again, I view very cheap, but that's just my own personal opinion about airstrikes. Some of you guys might not believe the same, maybe because you guys are users who actually purchase airstrikes. If that's so, that's totally fine. I just don't like to spend money on that sort of thing. I like to do the gameplay more so on skill itself versus that of just doing free-based, or not free-based, but paid-based damage, so to speak. But we're not discussing about airstrikes. It's just something I like to vent about. So sorry about that, guys. If you guys like to vent about it, please do post it out in discussion in your posts and comments, what you guys think about it. We can go a lot into balance about the game itself, but that's not the reason why we're here. Ouch, that was an airstrike, and we are actually, I'm actually surprised. We didn't take that much damage overall, which is pretty good. I'm happy about that. So far, again, though, back to the game. No side has conceded mech to the enemy. We have not given any of our mechs, and neither has the enemy so far. So relatively good. It's a good start right now. Better than conceding 4 mechs at once suddenly. Trying to find the enemy mechs. They're up here. They're up here for certain. But I'm trying to, again, really be aware of how I position myself. Ouch. Okay. Ouch, ouch, ouch. As you can see, that was not the greatest. We only got off 1 shot, and I don't even think it did that much, to be honest. So, again, sticking with the pack itself, hopefully when the enemy is distracted by other mechs, we can begin to start using our large pulse lasers. Now, again, we don't have ER large lasers in which our range is incredibly higher than that. We do have our maximum range, I would say, of 402 meters before the lasers either don't hit their targets or the target is hit, but the damage is so minimal that it's basically nothing. It's pretty much nullified at that point. So, again, where does that place us in terms of positioning? Probably we want to be within medium range of the enemy mechs for certain. Definitely close range is not ideal, I would say, for the Banshee, just simply because the only weapons we have are large pulse lasers. Also, the fact that despite that we might have more health again to that of the Hellbringer, which I have discussed in my last video, that does not mean that we can suddenly place ourselves in a precarious situation or suddenly be tanking a lot of damage like that of perhaps a direwolf or a warhawk or an atlas, for example, which are great prime examples of heavy assault mechs. You know, mechs that offer quite a bit of firepower and can actually tank the damage received from enemy mechs. Trying to find our target, having some difficulty right now in doing so. I'm just really trying to place myself in a position again, and really I'm not actually while I can see where the enemy is shooting, I don't exactly have a clear shot, so better to hold my fire rather than suddenly just
Light them
shoot
around
them.
Delta Echo 5.
Looks like we're all kind of bunched up here right now.
Yeah, I can't tank for you anymore. You guys gotta
Kind of stuck right now because of this mech right here. This mech has taken so much damage in the front. I feel so sorry for his face. His face must be very burnt up and shot up. Suddenly he needs plastic surgery or just overall good mechanical repairs to hopefully change out the frame damage that he's received. Again, trying to look to where... Oh! Trying to present myself in again where... Like that. You see, again, trying to, again, use my lasers. I don't have to use necessarily both lasers at once. I can just use one of them. Trying to get a shot while you're still utilizing cover to my advantage. Looks like the mechs are over there. They're doing the same thing. They're definitely using cover in hopes and at the same time firing a shot at us. I'm trying to do the same right here. But let's just see if one of them decides to poke their heads out and we get lucky. Just scraped him a little bit. Poking out a little bit. Okay, looks like we're beginning to move out, I suppose. Thinking about it. Our team is considering it, unconsidering it. Gonna fire both our lasers at that guy. Just gonna again back off, get into the cover of some rocks right here. This is a relatively even game right now. As you can see, both sides have conceded 2 of their mechs in general. I will say though, again, I am actually very satisfied with this mech itself overall. Despite the fact that, again, it does have relatively slow movement speed, that does force us to become much more aware of our positioning and also when we want to exit and retreat back from a situation that is not as so ideal for us. At the same time though, this mech, we can fire our large pulse lasers in quick succession, which is always good versus that of the Nova, which, I mean, again, you couldn't do that, honestly, even for all that firepower. Even if you have high amounts of firepower at your disposal, if you can't use it effectively in a manner that is appropriate, then essentially it's very difficult to contribute to the team itself. So just the fact that, again, we have large pulse lasers and we can fire very quickly in quick succession, again, it really does help the team quite a bit. Just trying to go at a different... Oh boy, they're definitely right there. Again, we don't really care so much if our arm gets hit or shot up. It's not that big of a deal since all our large pulse lasers are on our torso. Trying to get another peek. Ouch, but we are still taking hits, so we gotta be careful. Yep, they do have a solid firing line. Better not to peek right now. So right now, it's kind of a standstill at this point. We're...
Could turn around and go after their base. Make them
Could
move.
do that, of course. It's a standstill right now. Each side trying to figure each other out.
Yeah, we can't just stand here. Let's go after their
Looks
base.
like we're going to go after the base. Interesting strategy. It has been done before. So it looks like we're again going to change our positioning. Hopefully, we don't get suddenly caught with our pants down from behind. That is, hopefully we don't. Again, we are a slower mech, so having a head start is really crucial, guys. You don't want to fall behind and suddenly become prey to lighter mechs in which you get caught out of position, you suddenly get chewed apart.
Make a move.
So again, just a little brief recap of what we have listed about the pros and cons about this mech, or at least from my thoughts and perceptions, first time playing this mech ever before, is that again, we have high amounts of burst damage. That is a huge advantage to us. We also can fire our lasers in quick succession. That is another pointer for us. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say in terms of this mech providing an advantage. Okay, the fact that we do have a little bit more armor and health, actually, that's always good, you know. However, the downside to that, or the disadvantages of this mech for certain, is the fact that we do have slow movement speed. You know, that is a problem. We can't exactly
Warning.
we really need to choose our engagements and our positioning
Level critical.
really well on it at this point with this mech, really. Another thing to probably point out is, despite the fact that this mech might have a little bit more, we're actually a little bit outside of range. See, as you can tell, I'm not hitting my mark. Just because we have a little bit more HP does not mean actually we can begin to, just because we have a little bit more HP does not mean that we can suddenly place ourselves in the front lines immediately. I would actually encourage this mech to be used in a manner of medium distance in conjunction with your team. And as you can see, I am separating myself from the team. I was expecting us to actually go towards the base, but it seems like we don't need to since the enemy is right there. Gonna go behind these rocks right now.
Warning. Incoming missile.
I believe there's an enemy mech that should be popping out right here at any moment. I expect to, at least. That's an enemy mech right there. Just gonna fire off just trying to get a missile lock on us. Just gonna back off right here. I'm sort of not in the best position, to be honest, guys. Even though I do have these rocks as cover, I am slightly separated from my teammates, which does leave me very vulnerable to attack from behind. At the same time, though, I have this great flank. And this guy's not hitting his mark. Oh, yeah, that's okay then. Solid kill right there, guys. Awesome. Just aiming right at the torso, and he goes down. Again, that is the power of burst lasers, honestly. Especially large ones, dealing huge amounts of damage in just very quick succession. And that is, again, a huge advantage for us right there. However, we are not winning, actually. We're actually losing, sadly. It's another mech down. Just trying to deal as much damage as we can, guys. That's another mech down. Oh my goodness, guys. This is a really quite a battle right here.
Target acquired.
Oh, missing.
Heat
Gotta watch our heat level.
critical.
Alright, I did as much damage as I can. Yes, I did overheat. I was watching my heat gauge, but I decided to take another shot regardless of that. Just trying to, again, do as much damage as I can in the quickest amount of time, honestly. This is a very close game at itself. Okay, that's another target there. So there's 2 more mechs over there. Oh man, these mechs are everywhere, guys. Definitely, I have a feeling that the enemy mechs are going to start probably flanking from behind me. Probably will start hitting me from behind. I'm probably going to have to try to get to higher ground right now. Yep, I'm going to get to higher ground right now. And I'm getting shot from behind. Ah, this mech is so slow. That's another disadvantage, guys. Remember, the Banshee is particularly slow. That's why it's so crucial to stick with your team, guys. It's so important. I cannot stress that out right now, how important it is to stay with your team. Getting to high ground right now. Trying to see what mechs are available to shoot at. Start firing my large pulse lasers. Come on. I don't really think we're really hitting our target, though. Watching our heat gauge, we're at 94% in the heat gauge. Gotta watch it, gotta actually start now, calming it down, letting it cool down right now. Are we gonna win this battle, guys? It's 9-9 right now in terms of kills. Okay, that's another kill down. Oh, gotta watch our torso. Gonna start moving myself out of position, hopefully. Okay, moving it back in. When they're distracted by our other mechs, one of them I believe is a Raven. It's a light mech. Hopefully our other MechWarrior allies can start weaving in and out, hopefully. Okay, I'm right here. We need to actually start working together to combine our firepower, hopefully to take this one last mech out, guys. I think we will actually win this fight. This is a pretty crazy battle right now, actually, just the fact that we were flanked. We were at a severe disadvantage at that point.
Destroyed. Center torso.
Okay, torso is in critical damage. Oh, move out of the way, little mech. He's right there. I see him. Having a shot at his arms. Yes, guys, we win that battle. Awesome. That is great. That was a sick battle, guys. I'm actually really stoked right now. Wow. What a fight. What a fight, guys. Now, that is what you call a damn good game on MechWarrior Online, guys. Look at that, guys. 12 to 10. Do you rarely ever encounter a game like that? As you can tell, again, I am very stoked. I'm so happy, guys. Not only the fact that we did win, but that was overall a really good game. Let's check our stats right there. 2 kills, 7 assists, 2 components destroyed, 330 damage done, and 134,000 C-bells earned, guys. Wow, that is fantastic. Now, just because of this gameplay doesn't mean that necessarily I'm a really good MechWarrior Online, guys, player. I'm just your average medium MechWarrior Online player, guys. Trying to bring you quality gameplay content. Again, pros and cons about this mech itself from my overall perceptive thoughts about it, I guess you could say, is 1, it offers high amounts of burst damage. 2, relatively low cooldown. You do have to still watch your heat, but man, you can fire off your large pulse lasers in quick succession. The drawbacks of this is the fact that you do have all your weapons on your torso itself. That is something you have to watch your torso for, because again, the more damage you will take, the more likely that you will begin to lose your weapon systems. And if you don't have your large pulse lasers, then you're essentially a sitting duck. That is a problem. Another disadvantage probably about the Banshee itself is slow movement speed. The faster movement speed you do have, the more likely you can get out of situations that are pretty bad for you, and also get into positions that are actually fruitful for you. But because the Banshee does have a slow speed, it's really crucial that you stick with your team, to have them as support, to watch your back, to provide you the necessary cover and protection that you need, and also the opportunities overall in which to actually use your large pulse lasers. Another disadvantage I would list out probably is the fact that despite the fact that it does again have slightly more armor than that of the Hellbringer, the assault mech, that doesn't mean that we can necessarily place ourselves in frontal situations. Again, we do have all our weapons on the torso itself, and again, most of the enemy mechs will begin targeting the torso. So really place yourselves in a position where you have the most advantage, in which you can also dish out the most damage, and hopefully avoid the amount of damage you take from the torso. So that would probably mean placing yourself in medium distance in conjunction with that of your allies itself. If there's anything else that I missed, I'm trying to think right now, but overall, the Banshee is actually pretty powerful in itself. Much better than the Nova. Again, another disadvantage probably. It's another disadvantage I would say again, but this is probably a balance issue. It's just the fact that again, maximum range we get for the mech itself for our large pulse lasers is 402 meters versus that of ER large lasers, which do about 700, and I think it's either 702 or 705 meters in terms of range. So again, this is more of a medium mech, not exactly a brawler, and definitely not exactly a long distance fighter either. And movement speed, you do have to keep aware of that. That is probably the biggest drawback I would say, and also again having all your weapons on your torso, which makes it more likely to be destroyed. But overall, guys, this Banshee is one hella fun mech. I really enjoyed it. Had some pretty good games here tonight. That last game we played, fantastic, guys. I hope this has proved informative to you guys. Also, I just hope this overall experience has been enjoyable to you and has been very entertaining. I'm doing my best to bring you guys good quality gameplay content. Again, please do leave a comment what you think about this, how I can actually better myself as a MechWarrior Online pilot as well. And hopefully, guys, again, you guys have liked what you have seen. And if you want, guys, please do hit the like button. And even if you want, subscribe. And if you don't want to, even just you guys looking at my video really does help a lot, guys. Again, thank you so much for sitting tight, watching me play and trying out the Banshee itself. And likewise, I'm going to go right now. But before I do, take care of yourselves and take care of those around you. Until next time here on MechWarrior Online, see ya.